Welcome back to Pilot Light Your Writing, and today's episode is all about the genre. So last week I've asked you to pay attention to your habits and the genre that you love the most. And this is quite important because behind the genre there is a philosophy that goes with it, and that philosophy is something that agrees with you, and that's why you prefer a genre more than another. Let's start with an easy example. For instance, science fiction. Science fiction is mostly based in the future. It's a possible future for us. So most of the science fiction movies are trying to warn us about a possible future that could happen to us, a possibility. It's like a vision, a vision in the future. So there is this notion of be careful what you do today because this is what could happen potentially. I'm thinking about books like 1984 or Black Mirror TV series or 2001 A Space Odyssey. All these films or books, it's all about a possible future. There is a very close bridge between science fiction and dystopia because both of them are talking about a possible future, and especially dystopian movies or books are warning us about something that we are doing today and where it could lead us to. Another popular genre is coming of age. So coming of age, the philosophy behind it is any transition is painful and complicated and difficult. Coming of age books or movies, they normally talk about teenagers becoming adults. But coming of age can have a wider perspective because you could have a child becoming a teenager becoming an adult, and an adult becoming a mature adult. And all these changes, all these transitions are painful and difficult. And this is what the genre is talking about. It's about that transition. Now, horror talks about our biggest fear, which is death. And it's normal that it's a very popular genre because I think that fear is quite common. But there are different ways to explain death to your audience. Well, it depends on your philosophy, really. So what I mean by that is either you think that there is a life after death and it's not over, there is something else. And that will be all the books or movies about ghosts, spirits, ghosts from the past, anything like that. We could even go further than that, and you can extend it to heaven and hell, and make a film about. I'm thinking about Constantine, which is a brilliant film, which is really pretty much about that. Sometimes even like Constantine, religion is included. I'm thinking about The Exorcist, for instance. And otherwise, you could have another vision of death, and you are thinking, well, after our body dies, there is nothing left, and that if you make it into a horror, then it becomes something like a zombie movie where they are dead, but the body moves, but there is no soul in it. It's an empty shell, which is quite scary as well. And then you can extend that to the opposite, which is being immortal, which is quite frightening as well when you think about it. And that would be all the vampire movies. They hang around forever. And that's quite a tragedy, really. But it depends. If you like this genre, look at the niche that you really like, and don't forget that you need to play on that fear of death and to question also your philosophy about death. That goes straight with your theme. Now another popular genre, and I think I'm gonna do, because we could talk about it for quite a long time, but I'm gonna put them all in one category, even though they are quite different. I'm gonna put crime, detective, and thrillers same category. But you can have a thriller without having a crime. It's possible. It's not always, they don't always go together. But mainly these three genres, crime, thrillers, and detective, there is that quest for justice. Something has been committed, and someone needs to be accountable for it. And this is why it's also a very popular genre, because it's very cathartic, in the sense of justice can be done by a very clever detective. And also what is very interesting in those kind of genre is the puzzle effect. We like collecting clues and making a whole picture out of it. And if you choose that genre, you need to know the whole picture, the whole final picture, before you start writing, in order to break it into pieces and to put them at the beginning. Another genre that is very popular is action. And the action genre, its philosophy is in its title, action. Basically, even in life, whatever you want to do, no matter what it is, you need to take action. And only then you could have a hope for success. And this is what action is about, is someone struggling to get things together, and they act on it physically, obviously, but it's also a figure of speech. You need to be in a mode of the action mode in order to have something done, in order to have a result, in order to claim something. Now I'm gonna talk about fantasy. Well, fantasy or mythology, they are different. Although again, I put them together. They are different because in mythology, really, there is a notion of fate, a very strong notion of fate. In fantasy, it's a bit different. Although fate could be there, the fantasy is all about the magic that we don't see in our present. It's all the books or movies that talk about magic all around us, the unseen magic. And therefore, if you write a fantasy book, obviously you need to have magic spells, perhaps, or magical creatures or beings. It's all the magic. So then it's up to you to decide: do I want to talk about the wonderful, beautiful white light magic, or the opposite, the dark magic? And sometimes, very often in fantasy, you have both. It's that struggle between evil and good, and it's very often in fantasy films, you find the same evil and good fight over and over again, and it's normal. Another popular genre is gangsters. This genre is, of course, about money. Very often drugs are involved, but mainly it's all about power. It's all about power. It's a fight for power through money, with money, because in our world, unfortunately, the people that have power have money. So that's the currency they're using. So gangsters are using the same. And really, it's very often, I don't remember right now if I've seen a gangster movie that was really positive about being greedy and wanting all the power for yourself. I don't think so. Most of the time, they don't end well. they pay the price for it. They're after money, but they pay the price for it in every level. So yes, it's about corruption. Yes, it's about fights between gangs. But really, it's about power. And now let's talk about two genres that I'm not going to put together, but I'm going to explain them together at once, which is comedy and drama. And you're going to tell me, but comedy and drama are totally different. Absolutely, they're totally different. However, there is a fine line between what's happening in a comedy and what's happening in drama. Let me explain. Basically, whatever your story, in comedy or in drama, your characters are going to be struggling with something. They struggle throughout the story. Except that in comedies it's very funny, and in drama it's very sad. It could be the same problem. You could make a film with the same theme, the same problems, and turn one into a comedy and the other one into a drama. This is very possible, because basically, when you talk about drama, you talk about characters that you observe with a magnifying glass. And you observe the hurt, the scars that the person endure to go through life. Whereas in comedies, it's probably the same problems, but you are not going to take a magnifying glass. You're going to take a lot of distance. So much so that you're going to find that funny. I'm going to give you an example that happened to me not long ago, like a month ago or something. I was in class and I had 37 students, and then I walk and explain my subject. I walk and then I go backward, and when I go backward, my heel trip over a computer charger, and I go boom like this on my back. Apparently I did a Matrix style, like for the people that had distanced that, because for the students it didn't happen to them, they watched the scene. That was very funny. The teacher falling backward, in the class. That was hilarious. For me, however, I was under the magnifying glass. It was happening to me. That was less funny. Obviously, I was very lucky. I didn't hurt my head or anything. It was fine. I laughed by afterwards, but on the spot, it was like not only I fall, so it's painful, but on top of that, everybody is laughing at me. It wasn't funny. It was a drama for me. And you see the difference is the same event. So that's what I'm trying to explain with drama and comedy. Yes, a comedy can be turned into a drama. Can every drama be turned into a comedy? Yes, technically you can, but then it's, can we laugh about everything? Technically, yes, you can laugh about everything. But there are certain topics that I consider, that's my opinion, I consider that are sensitive, and out of respect and ethics, sometimes it's not a good idea to mock that topic or that kind of people, or that kind of thing. So, but they're very similar. Both suffer. However, I'd like to mention the ending. When it's a drama, most of the time it doesn't quite end well. It might, actually. A comedy, however, it is supposed to end well. It is supposed to leave you in the same mood that you came in to watch the film, or in the same mood that you felt when you were reading the book. And the last genre I'd like to talk about is about romance. Well, it's anything linked with the heart. It's, the idea, the philosophy behind it is, without love, life can be a very lonely journey. And there are two ways of thinking romance. It can be a romance / drama. And in this case, it's probably a love story that doesn't end very well. And that goes with your philosophy that, you might be thinking, it's beautiful, but it didn't end well. I don't think love is supposed to last forever. Or the opposite, which is romantic comedy. So this is different because it gives the philosophy the idea that you can find the perfect person for you, your soulmate, and it's going to be fantastic. And they normally stop the book or stop the film when that's it, it's wrapped up, they are together, and they're going to have a fantastic life that we are not going to hear about because because you know so anyway, romance is the most popular genre ever, and it's not a surprise really, because we all have a heart normally, and it's a quite important part of our life. But bear in mind that in all the genres that I've been talking about today, it's very often that romance is included in some of the other genres. You could have romance in a horror movie or in a horror TV series. I'm thinking about American Horror Stories. In there, they've got a lot of love stories in there. You can have a drama with a love story. You can have a science fiction with a love story. Really, it is very important not to forget the heart in your story, because we are not robots. We think, okay, but we feel as well. And it's good when a book or a film have both. So before I give you your homework for next week, I'd like to talk about expectation. Every genre has expectations. You wouldn't expect to watch a horror movie and have no fear whatsoever, and everything is going fine. There is no jump scare. No. So yes, you would expect it. That's your expectation when you watch a horror movie. A thriller, you want to be intrigued. You want to be lost in the story for a while, and that's normal. These are the expectations that your future reader or your future viewer will expect from you when they're going to see that you wrote a thriller or you wrote a horror movie, or etc., etc. So what I would like you to think about this week, is really observe in the genre that you want to write about. Observe the things that you love the most. So for instance, if you want to write a horror movie, and you watch one and write down the moments you prefer the most, the jump scares, the darkness, the music, everything that you can think about that really makes you feel uneasy watching it. And the same for comedies. In comedies, we all expect certain tropes, and that's normal. Study what works in those comedies, if it's a romantic comedy, because a comedy normally should be funny. I laugh because sometimes people say they write a comedy and they think it's funny, but when people read it, it's not that much. So you have to really study the comedy. It's actually, comedies are actually one of the hardest genre to write. It's very hard. It's very hard to write a comedy because not everybody has the same kind of humor, and you need to find a niche of that specific humor you have and you want to write about. So I'll let you think about the expectations, and I see you next week.